Welcome to another episode of season 6 of the Runners Roundtable, where in season 6, it is favorite running memories, running stories, and really just so much goodness this season that I finish each episode being so grateful not only for the guest that's on the show, but also grateful that I get to help share these stories. And I'm just grateful. I'm just a grateful person that I get to have this podcast and share it with the world. And today I've got Dr. Daniela Curtis, but in my mind, you're just Dr. Danny.
Yeah.
And it's probably like because your Instagram, Dr. Danny from Miami. So I'm like, you're just Dr. Danny. But I I want to say I first discovered you because of a mutual athlete, an athlete that I had that she went to you for her injury. So, Madi, if you're listening, shout out to you because it has introduced me to you. And then it's like the dots all connected, and I would see you out on my runs, and you were always just so friendly when running and like just very even when you're doing like your workouts and you look like you're really mean and focused because you do have like that mean and focused face when you're running hard, you at least like
I'm sure I
acknowledge.
survived stuff.
Yeah, like but you at least like acknowledge and like you'll grunt like a hello or something back. Whereas sometimes, when you're out there and you're doing your workouts, you're not like you do not have the capacity to say hello to someone, but you always take the time to say hi or to like give a hand or something like that. So I just want to thank you for that because I know running can be such a solo sport. And yet, when we're out there and we see a familiar face, it resets something in our brains for us. And anytime I see you out there, I'm like, yeah, okay, look at her being a badass out there, running hard, running strong, while I'm just trying to, survive my 4 minute interval here. So I want to welcome you to the podcast and thank you for just being such a wealth of knowledge for us runners in terms of even just like the little things like you post on Instagram, which you'll share later on, just like little videos of like, yeah, so if you have plantar fasciitis, here's what it is and here's what's happening. Like it's a very succinct breakdown of things that for us runners, especially because getting injured is such a common thing amongst runners. I really appreciate that. So that is my long-winded introduction to you and my experience with you. So now I'm going to pass it on to you and ask you it's a three-part question. It's can you introduce yourself? Tell us about your running story and tell us about where you're at with running today. Wait, I
Thank you
can't
for.
hear you. There you
Oh,
go.
wait. Did we lose? Like, do I gotta take these off?
I don't know. I think maybe
No.
you move and then it shifts because then it's like once I tell you I can't hear you, then you're fine.
Am I good now?
You're good now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was gonna say thank you for having me, and thank you for pointing out that even when I'm in the middle of a workout, I take time to acknowledge, just because it's always been still passed down by my mom and my parents to always acknowledge people, and it's just so automatic, and it just makes me happy. Like you said, right? Even those early Saturday mornings where I see you out running, I'm like, oh, they're the girls. Okay, they're out here working. Like, and I'm working too. And so every single person I see is always a reminder of like why we do this. And it's just like I might be out there by myself, but we're still a community. So thank you for saying that. So with that being said, hi guys, Dr. Danny from Miami. I grew up in Miami, Florida. I own Magic City Athletics, which is a performance physical therapy practice where I combine my years of experience as a runner. I've been running for over 20 years. I ran in college. I've been a coach at levels all the way from middle school all the way to the collegiate level. And basically, my biggest mission with my practice is to help people through injuries and even more beyond, right? I feel like in the medical system, we fail a lot of runners because they discharge them way too early. And then the worst part is they don't give them a clear plan back to running. And that's really what they want, right? Not only for performance, but just like we all know how emotional and, mental running is for us, like what a big part is for everybody. And it's like, that's my time with my family. That's my time that I share with my wife, with my kids. It makes me feel alive. And that's really why I do what I do. Yes, I love to help people get back to running fast, on the times they want, but it's always the deeper meaning behind it. So that's kind of my goal with what I do in my practice. And I always tell people, whether you end up working with me or not, once you meet me, I'm always a resource. All you have to do is pick up the phone. And if I'm not with the right person to help you, I'll make sure to point you in the right direction. So, with that being said, my running story, how far are we going, Steph?
I mean, as far as you want to share,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could be like, I was born and in my diapers I was running, or you can be like, I ran yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. So I always say I actually grew up as a dancer. So I danced competitively for about like 15 years, jazz ballet. And then my seventh grade year, my PE teacher was like, listen, we need people to run on the team. I had never ran in my life. Like I was always active. I played basketball, soccer, was always that kid. Like my mom put me in dance because I was a tomboy. She was like,
Wait, I lost you again.
oh,
We're gonna pause. The headphones were like, no, not today.
these guys away.
There you go.
All right, we're gonna get rid of the speakers.
Yeah.
Okay. So my PE teacher was like, listen, we need bodies. So I went out, seventh grade, had no idea what I was doing. And I clearly remember my first race. All I did was just run as hard as you can. Threw up all over my poor coach. Ended up winning the race. God knows how. It was fantastic. And then I didn't run my eighth grade year. And then my freshman year, there was this one coach, and I talk about her on my Instagram. She was like, spoke at my wedding, and she came to Doral Academy. And again, this was Doral Academy back in the day when it was not what it is today. I'm talking about like dirt fields, like one
Mhm.
building. We were running around. It was not as amazing as it is now. But it was. So she came in and basically she met me and she's like, "Listen, you're not a dancer. You're gonna be a runner." I was like, okay. So I ultimately quit dancing. And then at that point, I decided one, I knew I needed to get a scholarship in order to attend college. I'm sure my parents would have figured it out, but I always was like, listen, if I can help them and them that
Mhm.
time my education, like I'm gonna do that. So I dedicated myself to running all throughout 4 years in high school. You know, Rebecca, this coach, she only came for 1 year. She ended up going back to coach at Lourdes because that's where she went to. And I got as an adult, like in retrospect, you get it. At that time, I was like, oh, she left. What's gonna happen? But she did an incredible job. Every summer, I was able to train with the Lourdes girls. So she always took me under her wing. And then ultimately, I ended up running for FIU, kind of followed in her footsteps. So earned a scholarship, ran cross country, indoor, outdoor track for FIU. And the common theme throughout my running career has been I've always had multiple coaches. And so I never felt like I fully developed to my full potential in college. And at times I would get mad about that because I was like, we know, what if I would have had more consistency, or what if I would have been taken to bigger meets? Where would I have ended up, right? But again, I'm 35 now, and just having conversations, you just mature as a runner, just as a person. And I think it was a big blessing in disguise because it's a big part as to why I'm still running today, right? It's kept me in the sport for a longer time. I've gotten to learn from a bunch of different coaches, which has made me an even better coach myself. And again, I know when I'm the right coach for somebody, I know when it's not going to work out. I know when somebody needs more of a hand holding approach. I know when somebody I'm like, we gotta give some tough love. I
Mhm.
think overall it's I everything happened for a reason, and I'm super grateful for the way that things happened. And I'm 35 and I'm still running, racing, training, and I still wake up every single day grateful that I can run. So
It's so interesting to hear what you just said because did you ever experience burnout from running?
yeah. And I think it's timed more in seasons of my life where I was dealing with not the best personal relationships. And so I just use running as my coping mechanism too
Mm.
much, you know, and then it would lead to injury or just overdoing it. And then I would feel burned out for sure.
Yeah, that's why I asked because I think for me, and I have not been running as long as you have, but what's helped with the burnout and those moments where I feel like I'm starting to burn out is, and maybe for you, it shows up in the form of coaches, right? Where it's been that pivoting, right? Like the pivoting or the changing or the like being more flexible with how running is being approached versus always working on like the next PR, the next this, the next that, the next that, which I'm wondering now that you look back, like if you had that consistent coaching, would the goal have always been the same for you? And then if it would have been the same for you, how would that have impacted your running today?
Yeah, we can't deny that we know we obviously are getting older, and so there was a time to capitalize and kind of like on that speed, that raw speed that I had as a younger athlete. But I've always felt more called to use running to help others as opposed to it for be my own
Okay.
for myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it worked out the way it needed, which is why I'm like, oh, I'm still in this sport, and now a big part of what I want to do is, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this, is how do I give back to the younger female athlete that was me, or that didn't have that mentor, but now I can help change the path that they go down, right? But to your point of what you were saying, like with the burnout, I think one thing I do really well is like I always try to keep it fun. And I know sometimes people, when I say that, it's like, oh, you don't take it seriously. You don't take. No, I work hard. I train hard. But I'm always, if I want to go to the group run, if I want to mix it up, like that's always been something that I've been good at, and I try to instill that in the runners I coach. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I'm so grateful to be able to run, right? And so I think if I keep fun in the equation as much as I can, that's what's going to keep me in this like year after year as well.
Yeah, which that has been like I would say a theme with not only the athletes I coach, but even just like now being the parent of an athlete, right? And understanding that having fun and taking it seriously, they're not mutually exclusive. Like you can do both, right? Like you can have fun and you can be competitive. You can have fun and work really hard. Like they're not distinct things. Both can exist. And I think, and I'm going to assume you'll agree with me, is that if you're not having fun with it, it's going to be really hard to want to do the hard work. It's going to be really hard to continue to show up because then at that point, one, it becomes a grind, but then it also becomes a chore where it's like, oh, I have to run. Whereas if you're keeping it fun, it's like, wait, I get to run. Like, this is exciting. Like, what's going to happen today? What am I going to discover? Who am I going to see? Right? There's all these other things that come into play that when we engage in this either or mentality, we completely miss everything that running has to give, right? Everything that we can get from running as well. So I appreciate you saying that, especially because, again, I've seen you out there. So I know that you're working hard. I also know that you recently ran a race and you got yourself a PR, right? So, like, I know that you are putting in the work for yourself and that you're kicking ass. So to hear you say, hey, I just got a PR and I had this blog and I worked hard and I did all of this and I had fun. I'm like, please, can we put that message? Can we put that message somewhere where everyone can see it? Because in running, that's part of where I get bothered as a runner and as someone who I'm like, yes, more people come to running. It's this idea that you can't have fun while you're running, and that in order to take it seriously, you have to work hard. Or, and like, that the recent controversy recent month ago, 2 months ago, right? Where it's like, oh, I work hard and I wake up at 4 a.m. to run and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I wake up at 4:30 too. I'm working just as hard, but maybe my body, genetically speaking, is not going to run as fast as your body, but I am also working really hard and I'm trying to have fun, right? Like I'm not getting paid to run.
Right.
I'm just not. So I really appreciate you saying that because I think if we can remind people of that more often than not, then hopefully we will invite more people into the running space, right? We will get more people interested in running. So the question I have for you is, was it always fun for you?
Uh, no, right? There's definitely times where but I think it's always been combined with other stuff that's going on in my life at that time. If I'm being, stressed out at work or stressed out at home, running becomes the only outlet that I have. So I kind of just hold on to it so much. And then ultimately, if I can think back, all those times have always been linked with me either getting injured or, something happening that's pulled me away from running. And so, yeah, that's not fun. So I would say anything that if I feel like I'm death gripping running hasn't led to a good outcome, and then running's removed, so then I'm not able to have the fun that I need to with it, right? um or I would say even periods when I was a younger runner, like and this is common, right? You're just want to run a PR every single race and it's not happening, and like you think that's the only way you're going to have fun or be able to enjoy success in running, and you're just like hitting against a brick wall. And then so redefining that as well as I've gotten older has helped significantly. But as an adult, for the most part, especially in the past couple of years, it's been great. It's been fun. I honestly, simple things of like, I'm just not gonna run with a watch today. I'm gonna go on a new route. I'm gonna drive to the beach. Anything like that it's fun to me. So
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to make running fun. It's hard. And I think a lot of us come up against ourselves when, runners are very type A, right? So it's like there's so much that we want to control. And I'm throwing myself under the bus here where I'm always like, I like my little route and I like doing that. And I know where I'm at, even if I don't know where I'm at, right? Like if I do the same route every day, I know where the mile is. I know where 2 miles is. I know like more or less how long it's going to take me. So that fun of something new, even though it's fun because it's also great for your brain, it's still it's still something that I have to push myself to do, that of like, yes, let me go somewhere new and let me experience something new. And it's I just think it's hard. It's hard sometimes to even take ourselves out of our own comfort zone to chase that fun when, and I was just talking about this with just the comfort zone is very comfortable, is
mhm.
kind of that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I want to bring us to the theme of the season, our Beyond Pace theme, and ask you, do you have a favorite running memory that you can share with us?
Yeah, when I was thinking about the my favorite running memory, I feel like I could break it down in between seasons in throughout my life. One of them in in college being when I was running the 5K race at UF on the track. And, yes, it was the first time I ran like a low 17 5K, but it was when I'm thinking back about it and journaling, it was more so that I remember my coach. This is my coach again, Coach Mike Ward. He's been one of my mentors. I talk to him every single day, even up to now. He was part of my wedding. I can vividly remember him being in the corner of the track and just saying, if you want it, you have to do it today. Something along those lines. And like I get emotional with it because it's like it was like an outer body experience, just being on the track and like, wow, you're underneath the lights running. It was just a beautiful race. And I didn't look at my watch a single time and I just purely ran. And then to my surprise, it was a really nice PR. But sharing those experiences with him and having him still be part of my life now means everything. So, woo, girl.
Yeah, I I think it's the power of someone's raw belief in you, right?
Mhm.
Like just that. And also, and I have goosebumps now thinking about the power of words, right? Like the
Yep.
power of words reaching you right when you need them. Because in that moment, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can say about myself is that when I'm working really hard, I have to work even harder to shut the doubt out
Oh, yeah.
so that my brain is not thinking, oh, I can't do it. And then I pull back. And so for you to even be able to silence your brain enough for his words to make it through, that's also really powerful. So it's like the belief of someone in you, but then also the power of their words, and to have those words be something that years later, are still here. And his words are so much greater than that moment because it's true. Like and I don't know if you talk about it with your athletes, but I always tell my athletes, it's like we're not guaranteed a start line. We're not guaranteed a finish line. We can do the work and hopefully everything comes together, but there are no guarantees. So even what he said, if you want it, you have to do it today. It's that reminder that the race tomorrow is not
Yeah.
guaranteed. Like none of that is guaranteed. And did you ever talk to him about this moment afterwards?
No, I actually haven't. I might need to call him after this and be like, Coach,
Yeah.
I
So
he
I would
remembers
just be
differently too,
curious.
right?
Yeah, I would just be curious to be like, do you remember this moment? Because for him, it might have been like, I was just doing my
Coaching.
coaching thing and supporting you. And yet for you, you're like, it's this pivotal moment that made me cry 20 years later, right? Like, or not as long, but do you feel, has anyone ever told you you were that for them?
Yes. Yeah.
And how did it feel for you to hear that?
Exactly what you just said. I'm like, I'm just doing my job. Like that's what I do, right? Like that's literally my goal is help people have that deeper belief in themselves and then show them the way to get there. So yeah, that's funny that you say that. I'm sure he's gonna be like, yeah, I was just coaching.
Yeah. I mean, but that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's not. So you've had experience with lots of coaches,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you've had great coaches. You've had not so great coaches. You've had just like mid coaches, mid, right? That's what the youngins say right now.
It's
It's mid. I don't know. But you've had a range of coaches, and it's not just coaching, though, right?
yeah.
Like it's not just coach, because again, I'm trying to envision this, and you're on a track, which means you're running past him every quarter mile or so. So it's like, do you remember at what point during the race?
Yeah, I think it was right like at lap 6. Because usually those that second mile is where things start to fall off a little bit. And he was right there in the corner. Yeah. Yeah.
And you heard everything he had to say.
I don't know what else he said, but I somehow remembered this one piece. I mean, this is also the guy that has been on the track and been like, I'm having a crappy race, and he's like, "Are you gonna start running or get off the track?" Right? So he knows when to push me, when to be tough love, and when to be a little bit more more gentle. But yeah, I'm gonna have to call him after this.
I think you do, because I'm going to ask this question now, and perhaps this is going to solidify the fact that you need to call him. When you think about this memory, right? How would you say it's shaped you as the runner you are today?
Oh, so much. I mean, one thing that if you and I'm sure you've seen Coach Ward, but he's just calm energy. Even now during this training block, I know he's at the track on Monday mornings with his athletes, so I purposely would take my team and myself because I just wanted to be in his presence. And it just reminds me of, I mean, he's much older now and he's been doing this sport forever. And he's still out there himself doing his 200-meter repeats every week, right? So it's just so much more than just the running. It's everything that it gives you in life. So
So again, I'm like, let's unpack this here,
Can therapy session.
because
I love this.
I know. I mean, that's my background, so you're gonna get it. But right, so here is this person that said these words to you in a race, and here is a coach that throughout the years you've remained in contact with, so much so that yes, he was at your wedding, but also that you've taken your own team to go see him, right? This is not just, and again, I'm going to assume you've had some coaches that you're like, yeah, peace. I hope to never see you again. Like, much love and respect to you, but you
Right.
are not for me and I am not for you. So I'm just thinking of for me, it's more I'm in awe of how, and sorry, y'all, I'm going to get a little woo woo here, but like, right, how the universe conspired to bring you into this person's orbit. And it's more, my curiosity is just, would you be the coach you are today? Would you be the runner you are today had he not been your coach?
No, and ironically, he he coached at UM. And so when I was a senior in high school, he recruited me to run for UM. I ultimately chose FIU to follow in the footsteps of my other coach. Coach Ward, the one at UM, transferred to FIU 2 years later. So ever since that moment, I was like, I was meant to be in, like, this guy, he was meant to be in my life. And then if we fast forward even more, my wife played basketball for UM. So she knew him. And when I first moved back to Miami, I didn't know who my wife was, nothing. He was like, hey, he went up to my wife. He's like, hey, my girl that ran for me at FIU just opened up her own practice. Like, if you need a PT, because she was a competitive triathlete at the time. And so we took him out to dinner. He's like, yeah, I was trying to connect you guys because you guys were with the wrong people. He's like, you needed to be with each other. And full circle, right? It's, yeah. So he's always been crazy. So no, that man is responsible for a lot of my life.
I, again, I love this because so this is part of why I love this season so much. This is just it. This is why I love this season so much because, yeah, you're like, yeah, so I got a PR in the 5K, right? Like for me, my thing is always just the times are important. And I hope I've said it enough times this season that people know that times are important and times have a lot of meaning. But what's going to stay with you longer, it's usually something else about the event. So yes, yes, listen, you got your PR that day, but had he said something different to you, you might have been like, fuck you. I don't want to hear anything else. And that relationship would have, like, once you graduated college, right? Like, once you graduated college, you might have been like, all right, coach, thanks. Like, you were just another coach in a string of coaches. And yet, those words, alongside with his coaching style, is what kept you in community with him, which is what then led you to meet your wife. Like, to me, I'm just like, running is so cool because you really have no clue. Like, you have absolutely no clue the impact of the people, and you have no clue what paths are going to open up to you because of running. So this is just, I love all of this because, I mean, do you, and this is me again, my overthinker is just, my brain is like going berserk right now with this story because I'm like, my God. So like if you wouldn't have come back to Miami, or like what would have happened if you didn't come back to Miami, but you probably still would have like met your wife because you always had this connection to him, and he probably would have been like, can we hop on a Zoom together? Like talk about, like he would have figured out a way to probably get you two to connect in a different way. So my brain is just like, here is this person. And I think what I want to say and what I think this really highlights is that your coach is more than a coach, right? Like your coach is not just a training plan. Your coach is not just your workouts. Your coach is that person that believes in you. And in this case, your coach is someone who does not stop being your coach and does not stop wanting the best for you once the coaching stops, right? Like once that formal relationship stops. Here's someone who's looked out for you.
Yeah.
For how long would you say?
Gosh. I mean, since my junior year in college, and I'm 35, yeah, so we're talking about like a long time.
Yeah, a long time, right? Like, and even before then, because we're talking about high school when he was trying to recruit you. So to see that here, I'm going to ask you this question before I get into like my series of questions here, because you had mentioned it. What does paying it forward as a coach look like for you?
Yeah, I coach kids and adults, and I think it's both have different things that I'm called to do for them. But really, what my what I feel like I've always been called for is to pay back to that younger girl, right? Or that girl that's in the school that doesn't think she can make something out of running. Or and again, we all know, for me, like, running gives you the confidence, the strength that to know that you can do anything, right? And so when I talk to my girls, what I really try to do is, and again, I think it's just a culture that I was raised in with my coach and other coaches. It's like, yeah, my girls are great, but I'm like, I want to know you as you. Like, what else do you like to do? How's school? What do you want to study? How's your family? Like, build that deeper relationship so they feel safe, and they have somewhere they can go to. And I love when they run fast, but I am the proudest when they're just proud of themselves for whatever that looks like in whatever area, you know? Um, so yeah, I feel like everything that in the universe at this point is aligning for, I mean, I'm up to 15 girls. These are girls that run at, some of the best girls in Miami-Dade right now. And I get to work with them and be with them. And I learn so much from them, right? And they keep me young. I joke around, but they keep me young. They keep me running. It's great to be with them. And, and with my adults, I have always been the person that I think that you can do whatever you set your mind and your heart to. We don't have to be kind of pigeonholed into, oh, you're a mom, okay, so you can't do this, or you're the.
Mm-mm.
I don't think you can put anybody in a box. And with my adults, it's like, how do I create that ecosystem in running that's going to help them to continue to chase their own goals? Because again, we know running for most adults is a vehicle for them for their self-worth and for them to be healthy. And again, just be chasing something on their own. And that gives them that time that's just for them outside of all their other roles, right? And you do a great job at this. Not everybody should be running 5 or 6 days a week. I have some of my adults that I'm like, okay, great, we're running 3 days a week because you have all these other stuff, and that's fine. That doesn't make you any less of a runner. That doesn't mean we're not going to get you to the same goal. It just might take us a little bit longer. The road
Mm-hmm.
might. So I think that's the biggest thing. And that's why I try to, even as myself, right, as I'm 35, I'm building a family, I'm still training. I pride myself in continuing to live by those rules and figuring it out, right? If there might come a time that I might not be able to train how I want to, but that's okay. I'm still gonna keep chasing. It just has to look differently. That was a very long-winded way of saying. Sorry.
No, I mean, I want to heart a lot of what you said. Like, I'm like, where can I tap my deep, deep tap, tap to give it a little heart? Because there's layers to what you're saying, right? On one layer is the power of community, the power of community, regardless of whether it's your young girls or it's the adults that you're working with. And it's also another layer is that it's okay for things to look different, which again, runners with our type A personalities, right? Where we think it's like, we've got to do this many runs, and the long run always has to be on a Saturday or a Sunday or track Tuesday or whatever it is, like whatever cute words we have for things, right? Where we think this is how it is. And listen, and I've shared this before, I was that person as a newish mom, right? My girls were 2.5 years old and 6 months old. And I thought, I can't be a runner because I don't have the time to dedicate it to it. And it took one person initially telling me, my sister has kids too, and she's here, for me to be like, oh, I guess I can. And listen, if you're going to challenge me, I'm going to try to I'm going to try to challenge you back just to prove you wrong. So it was great. In this case, it was wonderful because I was proved wrong, and it's turned into a very beautiful relationship with running. But it is what I love the most about what you said is that it can look different and it can still work out, even if it takes longer, which, as someone who's, I'm 42, so I'm just a little bit older than you. I told my coach a couple of weeks ago after my half marathon, where she's like, yeah, you're gonna rest. I'm like, man, you don't need to beg me, you don't need to tell me. You want me to rest, I'm there. Like, which is a very different a different perspective than when I was in my 20s or maybe even in my early 30s, where I was like, oh my God, rest feels uncomfortable. Now I'm like, wait, you want me to rest? Please, can I get an extra rest day? Can I take more time? Do you want me to go to bed? No problem. Like now I'm like, let's do it, because as we age, our bodies respond to the training and to the running and everything differently, that we have to be okay with doing things differently because we are not the same, right? Like how you train now is not going to be the same as how you trained when you were in college. It's just not. And if you do train like that, good luck. Like, and it's not to say that you can't do it, but I think you're going to be like, why does everything hurt more than I thought it was going to hurt? And it's just because your recovery needs are different. Your nutritional needs are different. Your life stress is different now than what it was before. So I just love all of that because, again, anytime we can get these reminders that running doesn't have to look a specific way, it just has to work for you, I'm all for it. So everything you said, I'm like, yes, even if it takes longer, like it's okay. It's totally okay. So I have this question, and it's going to lead to our final few questions, right? So feel like you've had a lot of time to reflect on yourself as a runner, on who you are as a coach, who are you continuing to become as both. So with all this reflection, if you could go back in time to speak to a younger version of your runner self, what would you say?
Oh, I remember going into college and one of my teammates that was a senior telling me it goes by fast. And at that point, I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a freshman. I have 4 years. And no. So if I could go back to my college time, I would take more advantage of the opportunity I had to run in college, probably be a little bit, and I was disciplined, but probably a little bit more, because racing in college is kind of an opportunity that not a lot of people get, and it is super, super, super special. So I would probably say just, you know, and again, I think a lot of this is because speaking with my wife, the way, and I think it's just because our parents were athletes. My parents
Mhm.
weren't athletes, so the way where they raised her is differently in terms of that I was, right. So for example, her, like, she knew, like, okay, I want to make it to nationals, for example. I had no idea what that was, right. So just having lack of guidance. So I wish I would have sought out a little bit more mentorship from people that had been there, done that, been a little bit more disciplined, and just not try to just stop fighting so hard, right? Like just enjoy the process and not just keep chasing a PR after PR after PR, because that just led to so much frustration and injury down the road, right? So I guess be more present in the moment would be probably it. Luckily, I'm doing it now better, but I still get glimpses of my younger self as a runner, and then I have to snap myself out of it.
I think it's perspective, right? Where I love that saying of you don't know what you don't know. And that's just it. And I think it's so different now. And I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I said it right, that you didn't get it, but now you give it, right? So, like that mentorship, maybe you didn't get it, but now you give it, because I'm sure stepping into that role of mentor, whether you do it cognizantly or not, is probably something that comes very easily to you with the people that you work with or with the people that you coach, or even much to what you said of like, yeah, even if we're not working together, I'm always a text away, right? Like I do the same thing with all my athletes. I'm like, you may not be officially my athlete, but I'm always here. Like I'm always here. So I think that there's a real big difference. And yes, maybe it's part of like not having parents as athletes, but I also think that there's a big difference in terms of access and even knowing what's available to you. Because and again, I say this like as a parent, I was not an athlete in high school or as a child, but as a parent of an athlete now, I'm like amazed. I'm like, oh my God, she can get a mentor with like a college volleyball player if she want. I didn't even know that was available to her. So I think there's also that. And maybe even what is the culture
I was gonna say,
around whatever program you went to? I'm just thinking of like college and specifically, right? Was there a culture in that program where mentorship was built into it, where mentorship was something that was accessible, or even amongst other programs, right? Where it's like, oh, you could reach out to someone who was a little bit older than you, and would they step into it? So it's not just you. I think that's what I want to say. It's not just you not having that mentorship opportunity, but it's also like, what if there were people who just weren't willing to give it?
yeah, I think the access thing hits hard, right? Especially with the kids, in my perfect world, I mean, we all know this, right? Access, depending where you grow up, is different for everybody, right? So making
Mm-hmm.
sure the kids even can just have the resources, or even just the knowledge that it is out there, right? Like, I was the first person in my family to go to college. My parents, typical immigrant story, they came here, they're working to give me a better life. I get it. Like, they weren't concerned with, like, okay, I got to college, boom, great, Um, so I think, yeah, that's a big thing, and something that I hope that I can be for kids in general, right? Just, and again, this is the part of my story that I'm still figuring out. I don't know what it's going to look like, but that would be the overarching theme, right? Just like give.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's me. It's my internet. So
No
what were
worries,
you
no worries.
saying? This is the part of your story that you're still figuring out.
Did that catch her?
This is the part of my story that I'm still figuring out,
Oh,
and
got it,
then
got it.
it froze.
Got it. No, what I was saying is, like, yeah, the overarching goal of what I feel called to do is be a resource to kids that don't necessarily have the access, or the parents might not know, and just be like, hey, here it is, and you can do whatever you want with it, sort of thing. So
Yeah, again, the power of information. I know more about the recruiting process for a volleyball player than I ever thought I would know. And it's just because my phone is always listening and because I've engaged with enough volleyball coaches on Instagram that now that information is coming to me. And again, that's an access thing of I didn't even know something like that was available. I didn't even, now I'm like, oh, now I know the difference between a D1 and a D2 school. I had no clue there was a difference and all this stuff. So I think your story has brought you here so that you can start to change that, right? And however it unfolds for you, I don't think you ever have to have it fully figured out. I think you just have to keep saying yes, right? Keep saying yes to what comes in front of you. And asking yourself, does this align with what this goal I have for myself is, right? Like, does this align with that? Or does this make sense with how I want to interact with people? Because again, being a coach is more than just a training plan, right? Like, being a coach, I find that a, a good coach is someone who has all the resources, not just to like mentors or schools or programs, but also just the resources that are going to allow the athlete to be a good human who happens to do the sport that they do,
yeah.
right? Okay, flipping this question around a little bit is, what hopes do you have for your future runner self?
So, I think one of the biggest thing that I've learned this past, I guess I've been with my wife almost over close to 3 years, is just the power of having a really good teammate, right? And and I will chime into her, one of my other favorite memories was pacing her at last year at the half marathon in Indy, right? It was spectacular. She had been trying to break this goal for the longest, but I trained the entire block with her. I didn't care about my times. I didn't care about anything. It was just dedicated to her. And in turn, that obviously helped me grow as a runner. And listen, my wife's still fast. Like, I was still working. She always says, like, hey, that's easy for you. I'm like, no, it's not. But being able to run 13.1 miles of her of the course, and on mile 9, her looking at me, and I see the panic in her eyes of like, hey, my legs are starting to hurt. And just being able to say, I love you. And it's like something flipped in her. And we finished together. She crushed it, is a memory that I will remember forever. And I hope to share with our kids. And then this last race in Jersey City, it was super, super significant for me because I am getting to 35, right? And so in my mind, that was like the last final push before we do start whatever next chapter is in our family, right? And I don't know what that's going to look like. So I temporarily haven't set real running goals. I'm just running, and dedicating it, to helping my kids and the adults, and just running for me right now is just kind of my place for meditating and prayer and all that stuff. So no coming races, no nothing. Just open to see what else I'm supposed to do with running for others.
It seems like you're entering a season of a different kind of race, right? Because it's the like I think of my kids where I'm like, oh, this is a marathon. And some days it feels like a sprint because I can't catch my breath and I can't keep up. But really it's just a sprint within a marathon.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like it's for you, that it's a season of chasing a different goal while having running continue to be that place of support, while also, I'll put on my own little coaching hat here and just remind you, like you've shared that in the past when life gets stressful, running kind of goes up, and then that's where injury. So, just kind of be mindful of that, of like, how is running serving you right now? And an invitation to see, which is where I'm at, right? Of I don't know if I'll ever have another PR. I have no clue, because it's not just what am I physically capable of. It's also the what do I mentally want to do? Because, it's a different mindset that you have to get into when you're like, nope, I am chasing a very specific goal. I'm very like, and I just don't know if I have that, because as I shared, I like to rest. I like my
Yeah.
bed. I like to do less, as much as less as I possibly can. But I think this is also an invitation for you to embrace a season where the goals are different, right? Like for myself, I had a goal at the beginning of the year where I was like, I want to run a half marathon in this time. And I thought it was going to take me all year to get there. I seriously thought, I was like, oh, it'll be in the fall. And not Miami, but like the half marathon I ran after that, I met my goal. And I was like, oh shit, like, okay, Steph, you are apparently in a better spot than what you thought you were. And then after that, my goal was just, okay, can I be consistent? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not so much about beating the time, but can I be consistent throughout this year? Because sometimes being consistent, that is the work. Being consistent, that is the PR, right? So it's an invitation. And again, this is just where I'm at, and maybe it works for you, an invitation to expand. What does a PR have to look like? Can you PR in, just nailing your nutrition as a 35-year-old? Can you PR in having, so we have like, April had 4 Saturdays. Can you PR in 4 Saturday long runs in a row, right? Like, can you PR in, there was another guest where she had heard me talk about like the PRing, like expanding what it means. And she took it to mean like, can she PR the number of dogs that she saw on a course?
Love it.
And I'm like, this is wonderful, because it's just a different way of engaging with running, that it's still for you, just different, and maybe even more flexible to allow the life and the transitions and your own personal transformation once again to kind of play in. So running is still that constant, but what's changing is you, right? What's changing is you and your relationship. And how can that change in a way that helps you remember that it is fun, and helps you remember that, like, man, this is, in your case, a 20-year relationship that you've had with running.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, at the beginning of this year, I had one goal, and that was do one last push for a big training block. And one of my mentors, he's actually one of my PT business mentors. He's like, and he's an incredible athlete. He's like, just detach from the goal. So this entire block, I didn't train with a specific time in mind. I had one goal: be in the best shape I have been in my adult life. And that's exactly how I felt at the end. And of course we were getting paces towards, a PR race. but taking that stress away, I worked hard. I feel the strongest I am, the fastest I've been, and I am extremely happy with the process that I enjoyed it. And the PR in Jersey City was just like, okay, we did it. But by the time I got to start on in Jersey City, I was like, I already PR'd. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
And now, whatever, I'll still hop in a couple 5Ks here and there in the next, month, a month or two. But like you said, it's just different season for right now.
Yeah. And it's exciting because you have no clue what's going to be on the other side of this season. And I will manifest it for you, or I will wish it for you, that the next season be better than this season. And then any worries you have about the next season, they're not even going to matter because it's just not. So, okay, I have 3 more questions for you. And the first question is, how do you celebrate yourself as a runner?
Ooh.
I didn't even give you the normal introduction that I do to that question because it's my favorite question.
What's the normal question? Do I get it?
I always tell people that this is going to be the hardest question of the entire episode.
No, I think, that's so many. I was joking around, but yes, every time I have a hard workout or a nice race, I always try to get myself a nice little cheesecake after to celebrate. Uh, but really, I am not the best at celebrating myself. I will say that. And, it's something that I'm working on. I just am not the best at celebrating myself with a lot that I do. And
Mhm.
my wife's constantly like, celebrate what you've done all that stuff. So it's a work in progress. But usually what I've done is, I sit down, I journal, I reflect on what the work I put in. And then same like you, I love my rest. So last week, I didn't do anything but rest, my cafecito, cute coffee shops. So little things that I typically wouldn't do in a structured training block. We went dancing, we, went to a wine bar. Yeah, just again, the theme of just having fun and living life. So
Yeah. Okay. This is the easiest question now.
Right.
And it's just, can you let us know where to find you and how to better connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram as Dr. Danny from Miami. And through there, you'll also see the Instagram for Magic City Athletics. And if you need anything, just shoot me a DM through there, especially if you're tuning in from the podcast, just say, you're one of Steph's people, and happy to help however I can.
Okay. Final question is, what are your final words for us?
One thing that I've seen just in the running community as it keeps growing is that a lot of newer runners look up to the seasoned veteran runners, and they try to mimic their training or try to do exactly what they're doing. And that's not going to work out, right? Most of these top runners, that's their career. They don't have kids. They might not have partners. They're not operating at the same level that you are. So set the goals you want, find the coach that's going to make that goal a reality without you having to copy somebody else, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That makes complete sense. And I'm not going to say anything else. So, Dr. Danny, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. And everyone, we'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.